To make this macaroni and cheese, here are the ingredients you're going to need. And I am doubling the recipe, but I will link the original down below. So you're gonna need some eggs, butter, evaporated milk, salt and pepper, paprika, whole milk, and you're also gonna need your macaroni. And we just like to use elbow macaroni. Right now I'm waiting on the water to boil so we can get this thing started. Of course, you're also gonna need some cheese, and today I'm using pre-shredded mild cheddar cheese. So the water's boiling. I'm gonna go ahead and add some salt to flavor the water, and then we're gonna add the pasta. I'm just gonna give it a quick stir so it doesn't stick to the bottom. All right, so I've got the crock pot set to low. I'm gonna go ahead and add the butter into the crock pot. That way when the hot noodles get added in, I can stir it all together and the butter will get nice and melted and coat all the noodles. I'm also gonna take this time to go ahead and crack and beat the eggs. I'm doubling this recipe because we're going to a Memorial Day picnic at our pool. So I wanna make a lot, but also because the original recipe calls for an 8-ounce box of macaroni, and I don't ever have just 8 ounces. So that's why I always usually double the recipe, because I always have, you know, a pound box of noodles. I'm also going to go on and add the evaporated milk into the eggs as well. Maybe this one I'll just open instead of adding it in. That looks like it's gonna be really full. I think if I'm remembering correctly, it will fit, but it seems like it's right up to the top, and I don't really wanna risk a spill today. I don't have time. All right, so I've got the noodles, I've got the butter. It's all gonna melt together. Again, I've already got my crock pot set to low as well. You see how that butter is just getting nice and melted. It's coating all of these noodles. So I'll just stir this around until it's all the way melted. We're gonna go ahead and add milk, evaporated milk, and then this is a combination of the eggs with the other can of evaporated milk. Again, I'm doubling this recipe. I always like to give it a stir just to make sure all of that is nicely combined. Okay. From here, we're going to add the cheese. And like I said, I'm using the mild cheddar. I actually just pulled this one out of the I actually pulled both of these out of the freezer, so they will have to get to cooking, but I've done that before and it's been totally fine. And I think this goes without saying, but you could always shred your own cheese. Sometimes I do, but if I'm kind of in a crunch for time, I don't. And for this recipe, I usually use 1.5 of these 1 pound bags of cheese because the recipe calls for about 10 ounces for single. So I'm doing about 20 ounces for double. I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of salt. And then it calls for a dash of pepper. So I'm just gonna do, maybe I'll do like a half a teaspoon or so. Doesn't really matter. Also, the recipe calls for smoked paprika to be sprinkled on top along with a little bit of extra cheese, but I always just stir it all together, so I just add the paprika right on top. And then I'll show you, we'll stir it together. And I'm using this smoked paprika. All right. Here's what it looks like with the salt and pepper added on top, the cheese added in there. So I'm just gonna give it a little stir. This recipe is so good, and it's so good to bring to a crowd. I like to make this when we do like family birthday parties at home, or you know, if I'm going to a gathering like the one today. And usually at pool picnics, I think there are 3 or 4 other people signed up to bring macaroni and cheese. It always goes so fast. So I won't be bringing any of this home. I'm sure it'll all get eaten. It's always, always, always a crowd pleaser. So like I said, the recipe said you can top this with extra cheese, but then it says in the end to stir it all together anyway. So that's why I don't bother topping it. I just stir it all together to begin with so it can cook all together. I'm setting it to low. Come on. For 3 hours. All right, then we'll be on our way to the pool. All right, we're heading out the door. And so this is still gonna cook on the way down. Look how bubbly it is. Let me get a spoon. Just to show you a little bit what it looks like. Like I said, it's still gonna be cooking on the way down to the pool. And oh my gosh, it's so cheesy. But like I said, I always just stir everything together. This is gonna be such a hit down at the pool. So anyway, and all this cheese will kind of like come together. It won't be quite so stringy when it's time to eat. But for right now, look at how cheesy that is. Yummo. We are home from the party. Look at this. Crowd pleaser for sure. Thank you so much for adding a dash of gratitude to your day. I'll see you on the next video.